How do I feel about living in Sweden for about 1.5 years now? Let's find out in this video. So 1.5 years ago, we packed our bags and we moved to Sweden. And by we, I mean my British partner and my then almost 3-year-old daughter. And now we are a family of 4. So in those 1.5 years, quite a few things happened. And I kind of want to summarize what happened and, what it is like to live in Sweden for such a long time. We moved here because my partner got a job here. We were not actually planning on moving to Sweden. We were not really looking for a job here in Sweden. It kind of just happened. I call it destiny. But yeah, my partner was looking around to find a job somewhere else than the UK. That's where we moved from. And he was looking around the world a little bit, around Europe and outside of Europe. And then this opportunity in Sweden came up. And long story short, we are here now. Definitely had a few reasons why we wanted to move to Sweden, which I talk about in my videos, I would say. But also throughout this video, you will get to know a little bit what it is like to live in Sweden and why we moved here. If you ask yourself what I do, I don't have a job here in Sweden, but I started my own business because I worked for a company in the UK and I wanted to continue working for them here. So I started my own business so I can invoice them, and I will just continue doing this in Sweden. I will have my own business and have my own clients. At least that's the goal. So everyone is quite different. Maybe someone else's experience after 1.5 years living in Sweden is different, but I'm sure you're here to hear someone's journey, mine in particular. So I will just talk about my own personal journey, but it might help for people to understand what it is like here in Sweden and what's possible, etc. So we are a family of 4 now. I actually got pregnant shortly after we moved here, and I also gave birth here in Sweden, which is also an interesting experience, quite a positive one, just to take off the edge. And I made a video about it. I talked about my birth story and what it was like to be in a Swedish hospital, particularly here in Stockholm. So if you're interested in knowing what it is like, then check out that video. And we also bought a house here in Sweden. This is also our first experience buying a house anywhere in the world. But obviously there are some specifics for Sweden. So I made a video, or I think 2 videos about it. But I will also make another video because I feel sometimes after a while you see a little bit better what it is like and what you needed and what's maybe different to other countries. So if you're interested in that, also let me know in the comments down below. But yeah, we bought a house, a townhouse more specifically, a radhus in Swedish. So you have like houses left and right next to it. But we are quite happy with that at the moment. I still cannot believe that we actually finally bought our own property. It feels really, really good. And this is something you can do in Sweden. If you're interested in that as well, do let me know if you have any questions. I finally started learning Swedish, like officially with a course. It took me some time, but after 1.5 years living in Sweden, I finally managed to do that. Obviously, a lot of things came in between, giving birth and then having a baby around, or a newborn, especially at the beginning, then moving house. Like I never felt like I can sit down and concentrate on learning the language, but I finally did it. I started my course last year, I think it was in October, and it went until December. And this month in January, I actually start kind of the second part of it. So I will continue learning, of course. And I can tell I already understand so much more. I can speak a little bit, and maybe every now and then in videos, I will show you my Swedish skills. They are definitely still at the very beginner side of it, but it feels good to get going and finally have started with that. Det är svårt att prata på svenska, men jag förstår lite svenska. You see, I still have to think a lot about it, and even if I practice this sentence, it's still very hard to say it smoothly, but we are getting there. And I can just repeat myself, I find it so fascinating. You know, I wanted my children to be bilingual. Like my partner's English and I'm German, so these are the languages they grow up with. But now they're actually exposed to a third language, and my 4-year-old already speaks quite well Swedish, so I was told. So it's just amazing that they have now the opportunity to grow up with 3 languages without any effort. Like me, you know, sitting down and trying to understand and repeat and watching things, and like it's definitely so much more effort when you learn a language in your adulthood than when you're just a little kid. So yeah, and after those 1.5 years, we also experienced our second winter, although the second winter is not over yet. And I don't know if that's still kind of a honeymoon phase, you know, where you're still not so bothered that it gets dark so early and that it is quite cold. It is different to Germany. I just went to Germany for 2.5 weeks over Christmas and it was really mild. There was almost no snow. I think it melted away quite quickly, and then we came back to Sweden and it was much colder. So that's a little bit of a difference. I mean, I do live in the south, or my parents live in the south of Germany. Obviously, if you're in the Alps, it might be colder. I do experience the winter here a little bit different than in Germany. That's what I want to say, actually. But yeah, the winter for me is still quite magical here. I mean, at the moment it's raining and that's definitely not nice at all. But you know, it's just part of weather sometimes. You just have to accept bad weather. And I'm actually not that bothered by bad weather every now and then because you just can cozy up at home. And that's also what I did a lot when it is darker outside. It's just nice to enjoy our house, you know, our home. I mean, it still doesn't bother me too much. I do think a positive attitude helps, you know. If you concentrate on the basically negative, that it's dark so early outside and that you don't have much daylight, then maybe it's harder. But when there is nice weather and, you know, until 3 p.m. it is light, then I go out earlier and get some sun rays in my face, you know, which helps a lot. So yeah, at the moment it's still fine. And actually we also have planned a little trip, a ski trip or snowboarding trip, which I'm very excited about. I haven't done that in like more than 15 years. I was definitely younger than 20 years old when I last snowboarded, and just a few times, so I'm also quite a beginner. But we are going up north, west somewhere with friends to, yeah, also teach our children how to ski or snowboard. We haven't decided yet. So yeah, it will be interesting to explore another side of Sweden as well. Like that's what winters are for, that you also can pursue some winter sports. And hopefully when everything goes well, it's nice that the kids also maybe grow up snowboarding or skiing, so it's a little bit more effortless. I started when I was a teenager at school, and you know, when you're older, things are getting a little bit harder, not impossible at all, you know, and you will have new experiences when you are older as well. But it's just nice that a few things, if you have the possibility, you can just teach your children and they grow up with it. And then also making friends, because that's a question people ask a lot before they move maybe to Sweden, like how easy or hard it is to make friends. And I can obviously only talk about my personal experience, but I also have to say I don't need a lot of friends. Obviously we have our own family, we do a lot, but friends are needed in life. I mentioned it a few times in my other videos. We actually have here 2 Swedish friends. They are now families. I met the women back in London, and now they have their own families, so it's really nice to actually hang out with them and have our kids grow up together. But apart from that, I made some other friends, and most of them are international friends, so they're not Swedish. I haven't made any Swedish friends yet, I would say. I met some, I had conversations, but you know, I haven't made like Swedish friends yet. But I think that's also okay, you know, it takes some time, especially with the language. But the point I wanted to make is actually that you can make friends here. And there are quite a few internationals, you know, from Europe or outside of Europe. I made some friends from Britain and actually also Germany, which is quite surprising for me, I would say, because I'm normally not the biggest fan of making friends with Germans abroad. That sounds really terrible. I love Germans and I have a lot of amazing German friends. Germans can be sometimes particular. But anyways, I made some friends, some German friends, and it's also nice to talk in your own language. And they are actually also very good living here in Sweden. They live much longer than me here in Sweden and can speak Swedish quite well already as well. Something to inspire me a little bit as well to keep going and learn the language. I have to say, having kids or being pregnant helped me quite a lot to make some new friends. So obviously we had a little bit of a connection there, but I'm sure this would also apply to hobbies or any interests you have. You can meet people through that. Do let me know if you have any questions about life in Sweden. Just leave a comment down below and I'm happy to answer you straight away or even make a video about it. Oh yeah, one thing was really amazing. I had a little talk with my 4-year-old daughter earlier. We were talking about summer because she sometimes says things, you know, like, oh, there will be never summer. And I said, of course there will be summer. And then what do we do again? And she said, we go to the beaches again, you know, to the water. And I was just thinking, that's something so amazing here in Sweden, around Stockholm even, that you have these lakes and the sea, and then they have little beaches where you just can hang out. If we lived in London, that's definitely something we couldn't do. I mean, we didn't have a car in London either, and there's nothing around. So if you want to go somewhere, you have to drive or take the train or something like that. But here, you can just take your bike, and 10 minutes from here, we have 3 different beaches here. You know, I'm not talking about the crazy beaches, sand beaches, you know, in other countries, but it's very cute. I can probably put a picture in here to let you know what it looks like, but it's very beautiful. It's very green and the water is very fresh. Like, I'm actually quite happy that we have that now in our lives. And there's so much to look forward to in 2023 as well. I'm sure we are going camping this year for the first time. I will definitely make sure to take you along. If you're interested in that, just like this video. I hope you enjoyed this video and let's meet again in my next video. Until then, have a great day and stay safe. Hey do!